What's up, guys? So I have recently acquired this 1978 or 1978 till 1980 Marantz 1180 DC. It outputs a very respectable 90 watt per channel into 8 ohms, and I think 113 watts into 4 ohms per channel continuous power. Even though this one was in fully working condition, it desperately needed a full overhaul. So what was done on this was basically I have overhauled the power amplifier section. Okay, there are all new resistors which are on the ceramic standoffs. All resistors were in fact replaced with metal oxide and the metal film ones. The resistors, those 33 ohms which feed the differential pair, were uprated to 1% to help aid stability, and it had a full recap, so on and so forth. Basically it was fully solder reflowed, as one can see. What have we done more on this? Now the issue with these amps is they run extremely hot, and even on idle. I'm presuming, I think, more than 50 milliamps of bias. The biasing is not settable on this one. These are only for the DC offset, nothing more. So the amp is actually self-biasing. So what I have done to help aid a little bit of heat dissipation towards the case, I've installed this fan. It has the same hole span as the original filter board screws, so it literally all I had to do was just mount some spacers here and put longer screws, and it fitted perfectly. Now, in order to control the the actual airflow, I've installed a small PWM controller here, which is also settable, so that I can fine-tune the perfect sweet spot between good flow rate and lack of noise, because it's a small fan and it produces quite a little bit of noise. These amplifiers in generally have those four MV1 varistors, which are, well, varistor, it's a temperature compensated diode, which are not easily found. Luckily on this one they were all fine, so they were left alone. But I think you putting some 2x UF4007 in series might do the trick if should any one of these varistors fail. What have we done more? All of the transistors were replaced, all of them, so it has brand new transistors everywhere. In fact, there is a detailed restoration process thread on Audio Karma, and I will post the link below so that one can see, for maybe if anyone is doing some sort of restoration on this and wants to replace the transistors. There is the equivalents that I've used instead of the original ones. Moreover, even the 8 power transistors were replaced. What I've used was MJ15022 and 24, I think, probably 15022 and 15023, sorry. So, and because the MJ21194 and its complementary were not available, and I noticed that these power transistors have a more kind of similar gain curve, you know, when compared to each other, the NPN and the PNP. So I opted to use these, and it works very well. They have the same approximate transition frequency. Okay, so it's around, I think, minimum of 4 megahertz, so typical is probably around 7 to 8 megahertz, the same as the originals. It is very important that you try to match the frequency, the transition frequency, else you might end up in a situation where the amplifier might self-oscillate, and thus it will burn down other transistors and other components. It's very important that you match the frequency, all of them, even the pre-drivers and the other transistors. In particular for the differential, which I think are, let me see, that one, I think, let's see if see that one over there. I found, what I've done, I've used two PNPs, equivalent PNPs, modern ones, I think KSA 992, which I've measured. It is very, very important if you want the DC offset to be very stable and controllable and, you know, fully adjustable without any problems. Those differential pairs have to be matched no matter what, else you would end up you know, having some feedback back, and it's not meshed, and the DC offset starts going high and low, you know. But another tip, since I have to install this fan, you have to readjust the DC offset, okay, because of course the heat dissipation, it's different from the original one, and thus if you reset the DC offset with the case, without the case, and without the fan cooling, you might end up with a different value on the speaker terminals. So yes, that is one thing I will have to recommend, that you try to set the DC offset on this amp with the case on. You can, if you can, in this case, since I have used these Burns precision trimmers, you can literally poke through the case, because the case is fully vented, and you can set accordingly. Now the preamp section again was rebuilt, new power transistors, new again there are differential pairs, and this one, all of them had to be matched, and it works brilliant. The only thing that I didn't replace the transistors on was the phono one, because I do not use it. That's for one simple reason. Moreover, the case, the front panel was polished. I even polished the inwards of the peak indicator and the power on. This pot or rheostat had its outer part snapped, and as you can see in the photos, this one was fixed, and it works brilliant now. Now another thing I really suggest, do not clean the original grease, because else you won't get the same feeling when moving the rheostats. It starts either sticking, or instead of sticking, it will be too light, not like, you know, smooth like this one. Okay, in fact you can see I'm just simply moving it with my little hand on my, okay, no force need. What have we done more to this thing? The relay, I think it's not there. The relay, I wanted to keep the original relay, not only because it was still really functional, but I like the click, the way this relay sounds. In fact, if I let me turn it off, and you can hear it. You see that kind of click? It's the original click that this Marantz does. So what I've done, I've disassembled the relay and polished the contacts, as you can see. The photo, and I reassembled it, and it worked fine. The transistors and the peak indicator were replaced as well. The transistors on the filter section were replaced again, new equivalent ones, and better specs. The AC coupling switch was capacitors were replaced with Nichicon Muse series, and they did a fairly good job, yes, in terms of audio quality, and I think that's just about it. Oh, and no, apart from that, I also sprayed, refinished the case because it was a nightmare. I sprayed it with black matte as it was originally, and it basically looks like new. And this, in fact, it's very, very, very nice sound, warm sound that Marantz is famous for. The bass is exceptional. It's very nice, deep lows. It's a decently built unit, and these are not that common anymore. Especially the top of the line. This is the one step below the top of the line. The top of the line was at first the 1260 DC, which was available for a few months, and then it was dropped in favor for the 1300 DC, which was, I think, 150 watts per channel, and that one costs serious money. But this one was one step below the 1300 DC, and it shows. The only thing I do not like about this thing is these heatsinks are really small for the kind of biasing that Marantz designed this unit to be. Anyway, all pots were cleaned, lubricated, okay, and with contact cleaner that leaves a residue of oil, but so that it lubricates the pots. I think that's just about it. That's all. Hope you have a good day. Enjoy, guys.